Probably the number one most critical question that clients ask me is, Lucas, my business is starting to fail. How do I save it? I'll be covering that in today's video. And to think about it, initially, I view what I do in two frames. One is as I'm like a doctor working on acute problems. So in this case, something is incredibly wrong. They need a direct intervention to solve that problem. I'm also, though, a gym, which is focusing on longer term healing results that'll create resiliency to make it less likely to have injuries or sickness later. So when someone comes to me and says, Lucas, my business is starting to fail. How do I save it? I view that as a critical response. I have to come in there and give some support right away and get right to the root cause and get things fixed. From there, we can later start to work on some strengthening exercises to reduce the risk of them ending up in that same position again. But first and foremost, there's not a lot of time to waste. So if this is something that you are currently worried about or worried about in the future, I'm going to outline in this video the 5-step proven process that you can either do on your own or with professional help to work your way out of this possible loop that you might be in. So, the first thing I'd like to recognize before I dive into these 5 steps is that your current actions and history are what have gotten you to where you are right now. So, keeping up those same actions is unlikely to change anything. It'll take new adjusted actions to have a new result. I believe it was Albert Einstein who said something like, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, as the entrepreneur, how do you know what types of actions to actually adjust? That's going to be the focus of this video. Here are the specific processes and steps to follow, and they're in a very specific, clear order. This order matters because oftentimes, if you start with step one and you get the problem figured out there, you're just done. You get to skip the next 4 steps. It puts you right back up on track. If that didn't do it, probably 1 and then 2 will get you there. If that didn't do it, 1, 2, 3. So they're in a specific order for a very specific reason. So if you're doing this self-diagnostically, start off at step 1, don't skip it, work your way through all the rest. All right, so what are the 5 basic steps? 1 is don't panic. 2 is double check your math homework. 3 is take off your rose-colored glasses. 4 is check for holes in your bucket. And 5 is fill your bucket. So I'm going to go over what each of these means in order. So number 1 is don't panic. This is a key step. If you skip over this, you're going to create lots of problems for yourself. So when someone asks me this question, how do I save my failing business? I want to first of all define what I'm talking about here. This is a business that has been succeeding and is starting to show signs of losing that traction and that growth. That's a different question than I've started a business, it's not quite taking off. That's a different set of answers, different approach. There is some overlap, but I'm clearly answering my business was working, it's working less well now. What do I do about that? This first step of don't panic is really, really important because when things stop working, we can get very emotional in this. I have felt this myself before. Whenever you have some concerns about is this business going to work or not, that fear kicks up, that overwhelm, that anxiety, that feeling like you're just trapped. And in this state, we are likely to have our vision clouded by these emotions, and it's hard to make the best decisions. The worst thing is we are incredibly vulnerable here, which means that someone showing that they can possibly help us is very likely to have us want to give them money or hope that they can actually save us from this problem. Oftentimes, by the time someone talks to me, they've actually fallen victim to a few different helpers who they've ended up giving money to have made the problem even worse. So the first step is to step back from the problem. This is a problem like all the others in your business. You can solve it with a step-by-step approach, and having your emotions clouded by fear and anxiety just takes energy away from actually the action to take to make things better. So check in with your emotions first and foremost. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, water, good food, some exercise, that you're stepping away from the problem enough to be focused on the actions that are required. So 1 is don't panic. And if you're a geek, that's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Step 2 is double check your math homework. Here's the thing is that if your business works out on paper with the profit margins, the amount that you're charging your costs, then it can work out in the real world. But if it doesn't work out on paper, the chance that it works out in the real world is almost 0. So oftentimes entrepreneurs need to double check their math homework here. Sometimes they know how to do this, sometimes they don't, but this is a non negotiable. I found most business owners are not great at this step. And if there's one place that you're going to bring in a professional early on, if you are not clear on how to do this yourself, you should definitely reach out to me and get this money math put together. This is what your entire business is based on. Even if you're thinking that you can't afford the help, you also can't afford not to at this stage. This shows you how much profit you're making per sale, so you know how many sales you need to make the money that you need to be making. Without that information, you can just work really, really hard and never have success. I've actually worked with people in this stage before who were losing money every single sale, which meant the more that they sold, the worse their problem actually got. Most people actually are just making less money than they thought that they were, and they realize there's no way they can ever sell as many things as they would have to make their money, and that their business model needs to get adjusted. So step one is don't panic. Step two is double check your math homework. Step three, we get into take off your rose colored glasses. So this is a step where we want to really double check the value of what we're offering. And oftentimes we're so close to what we're offering, we're so proud of it. It's kind of like our kids' artwork. And our kids' artwork is beautiful to us, and we tell them, hey, this is wonderful. But to the rest of the world, it might be some scribbles on a piece of paper. Our business is the same way. What we do, we are so proud of it. Our family and friends are probably proud of us, and we can assume that the entire world is really happy with what we're doing. But in reality, sometimes the value isn't there for the rest of the world. So we like to take off the glasses of looking at our own kids' artwork and more the glasses of a general public looking at what we're doing. And it's easy to get lost here in our feedback. People are like, oh, that's nice. The service was fine. I was happy. That was good. Those are peaceable, moving things along comments. And we oftentimes can hear those as a business owner and think, wow, things are going really, really well. I'm on the right track. Rarely will customers say, hey, you had bad communication, response time was slow. They will rarely do that unless things have gotten really, really, really bad. So this step is double checking basically your product market fit. I know that you probably are focusing on offering a quality product, but double check that it lines up on all the levels a customer cares about. I have other videos and content I can talk more about, which includes talking about value and surplus value and an offering grade card. All these are ways to double check that what you're offering is highly compelling. Because if it is, you have a higher chance of repeat loyal customers who also are referrals. And if you don't, you probably will have someone that you sell one time and then they're done. They will not use you again. Or if they do, they're not loyal to you and they're just waiting to be stolen by someone else, which is a giant risk factor in trying to grow a business that's fallen off. So now we've checked our emotions. Step one, don't panic. Number two, we checked our money math to make sure we're making enough profit margin per thing that we sell. Number three, we made sure we have a compelling thing that we're selling by taking off our rose-colored glasses, looking at it objectively, what it is that we offer. Step four is for checking for holes in our bucket. So oftentimes I find that entrepreneurs have giant holes in their sales process, if they even have a sales process at all. So in this case, the bucket is the sales process. So you have potential prospects or leads come in that you're talking to, and they need to be ushered all the way from the beginning all the way to the end where they become a client. And oftentimes what I find is that you sort of have this maze set up, and some clients can walk through all the way to buy your offering, and they're the lucky ones who made it happen. But there's no other guidance there. So you have 10 people into your maze, one finds you, and you're like, yay, I got a customer. But the other 9 are just wandering the maze. So if you had a better process to help escort them from the entrance of the maze all the way to their offering, that 1 out of 10 goes to 3 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10 really, really fast. So having a proven sales process to get them from the beginning of the maze to your offering is very key. And if you don't have that, you have a hole in your bucket. You're leaving so much money on the table for your effort. And fixing the hole in the bucket is very, very key. Another thing is even having a bucket to begin with. Many clients I work with not only don't have a sales process, they don't even have a list of anyone that they are considering as a prospect or a lead in their sales work whatsoever. They don't know who they could even follow up with, much less what actions to take. So fixing this hole in your bucket is the next thing. Because you've checked your emotions, your money math works out really well, You know what you have as a valuable offering that they're going to really appreciate. So now your job is to make sure that you help make it easy for them to get to that step where they can actually buy from you and appreciate what you have. So now we've got the hole in the bucket fixed. We're on to step 5. This is filling your bucket. This is a hard step to do, so that's why I've saved it to last. Typically, the other steps will help start to solve the problem more and more. Step 5, filling the bucket, is a bit different. Many people skip these first 4 steps, go right to filling the bucket. They try hire a marketing firm or someone to send them more leads. But because their money math doesn't work out, because their offer isn't very compelling, and because they have holes in their bucket, they're going to be wasting so much money, losing so many opportunities, it's not cost efficient. But whenever you get all those things in place, now we're looking at how to keep that bucket filled. And there are a few problems I see here that are really common. Number one is people are actually doing zero marketing. And I've talked about marketing before, but I want lead generation marketing. This is activities that bring actual leads that we can talk to, which become part of our sales process we can follow up with. We're not just doing brand awareness, general marketing. We're trying to get lead generating marketing going. And so the first problem is that we're not doing any of it oftentimes. And that's because I don't like to do marketing. I don't want to post on social media. I don't want to make content. I don't want to go to networking events. And that's okay. But if you have that mindset, how are you filling your bucket? There can be a million right answers, but the only wrong answer is do nothing. If you keep doing nothing, you're going to have nobody entering your bucket and you're going to have the same problem that you have now. That's that Einstein quote again, right? So you have to find something that you like to do, that you can do, that will help you keep that bucket filled over and over again. And again, don't do what you're supposed to do, but do what's right for you. The more you-ness you have in your business, the more likely it is to succeed and resonate with those people that you're working with. Another common filling the bucket problem I see is that things get lean in the business and you're desperate. So you do really good marketing, outreach, follow-up efforts. You fill the bucket up again, and now you're busy delivering on what you filled up and you stop doing any marketing whatsoever. And then as those clients, all the fulfillment happens, you're back down to this panic stage. It ends up creating this up and down roller coaster, which is really, really stressful. So it'd actually be better if you did slightly less marketing, so you were slightly less capacity, and you keep constant marketing going, and it was more of a straight line. That'd be a lot less stressful, but it takes some balance to keep that going. Okay, so to recap, the 5 key steps. 1, don't panic. 2, double check your math homework. 3, take off your rose-colored glasses. 4, fill the holes in your bucket. And number 5, fill the bucket. Each of these could go into much more in-depth processes. There are consultations I offer to help dive into these deeper if you're lost and stuck, but this should hopefully at least focus in your efforts out of all the things you could work on, where to start if you're trying to save your business. If you have questions or comments, please reach out below. Best of luck. Have a great day.